My entitled stepmother thinks my daughter is hers and threatened to call CPS for stealing her baby because we're moving away to be far from her. She's been like this since I announced my pregnancy 11 months ago. The woman has completely lost touch with reality. For context, my stepmother married my dad when I was 14. She couldn't have kids, so she tried to replace our actual mom who was alive and involved in our lives. She'd show up at school events uninvited and introduce herself as our mother. My dad enabled all of it because he wanted her happy. When I turned 18, I moved across the country to get away from her. Fast forward 10 years. I'm married with a baby on the way and living in Colorado. Somehow my stepmother convinced my father to move to my state. 2 weeks after they arrived, she showed up at my house with a key she'd had made without permission. My husband changed the locks that same day. That's when the real nightmare started. At 5 months pregnant, she began posting my ultrasound photos on Facebook. Photos I'd sent to my dad privately. The captions were insane. Things like counting down to my baby girl's arrival and finally becoming a mother at 47. I called her immediately and told her to delete everything. She started crying and said I was cruel for denying her the closest thing to motherhood she'd ever experienced. I blocked her on social media. She started coming to my house instead, 4 times a day minimum. She'd bring baby clothes with tags still on them, a $300 stroller, a $400 crib. She'd walk right up to my door and say she needed to check on me and make sure I was eating properly. My husband started working from home just to run interference. At 7 months pregnant, we found out we were having a girl. My stepmother called me 12 times in 1 hour. When I finally answered, she was screaming with joy about how her Christina was coming. I told her we weren't naming our daughter Christina. She laughed and said every mother has the right to name her own child. I hung up. 2 days later, she showed up with paint samples. She was redoing her guest room as a nursery and wanted my opinion on colors. I didn't go inside, but my father later sent me photos. She'd painted the name Christina in pink letters above a white crib, bought a mobile that made lullabies, had a changing table fully stocked with diapers and wipes. The breaking point came at a family dinner when I was 8 months pregnant. She pulled me aside into the kitchen while everyone else was in the living room. She got really close to my face and whispered that a lot can happen during childbirth, that she and my father had consulted with lawyers and were prepared for any eventuality, that babies need experienced mothers and I should be grateful she was willing to step in. I felt sick. I told my husband in the car on the way home. We contacted a family lawyer the next morning and documented everything. The Facebook posts, the uninvited visits, the nursery photos. The lawyer told us to save every text and voicemail. My daughter was born 3 months ago. Healthy, perfect. We named her Emma after my grandmother. I sent my father one photo and made it clear his wife wasn't allowed at the hospital or our home unsupervised. He stopped responding to my messages entirely. For 3 months, it was voicemails from both of them. My stepmother crying about how I was keeping her from her daughter. My father saying I was being unreasonable and hurting his wife, that I needed to let her be involved or he wouldn't have a relationship with Emma. I didn't cave. Then this morning, everything exploded. I was feeding Emma when I heard screaming outside. I looked out the window and saw my stepmother at our gate, absolutely hysterical, sobbing so hard she could barely stand. She was screaming that we can't keep her from her baby, that Emma needs her real mother, not some girl who doesn't know what she's doing. I grabbed my phone and told her through the Ring camera that she needed to leave or I was calling the police. She started pulling on the gate, trying to climb over it. That's when my father's car pulled up. He had to physically drag her back to the vehicle while she screamed that I was stealing her daughter. I called my mom immediately. She drove 3 hours to pick us up. We grabbed essentials and left. We've been staying at her house for 5 days now while our lawyer processes everything. Yesterday, my stepmother left a 7-minute voicemail. She said stealing her baby won't go unpunished, that she's already contacted CPS with evidence that we're unfit parents, that she has lawyers preparing to fight for custody of her Christina. My lawyer listened to the whole thing and smiled. He said that voicemail just handed us a guaranteed restraining order and proof of harassment. We're filing today. We're also moving 5 hours away to a town she's never heard of. My father made his choice and it wasn't his actual children.